The Yogurt Shop Murders, a 34-year journey to justice. Welcome to Behind the Crime, where true crime meets real life. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a new episode. Let's uncover the truth, one case at a time. Now let's see today's story. On a brisk December night in Austin, Texas, the air smelled of smoke and tragedy. At 11:47 p.m., firefighters were called to a small strip mall off Anderson Lane. Flames were shooting from the roof of a modest store with a playful name, "I Can't Believe It's Yogurt." When firefighters pushed their way through the heavy smoke, they expected to find an accidental kitchen fire. Instead, what they saw would haunt the city for decades. Inside the smoldering wreckage, amid melted counters and blackened tables, lay the bodies of 4 teenage girls. They were bound, shot in the head, and the fire had been set deliberately to conceal the crime. The sight was so horrifying that seasoned first responders later admitted they could barely speak of it without choking up. The victims, Eliza Thomas, 17, sisters Jennifer, 17, and Sarah Harbison, 15, and Amy Ayers, just 13, had been full of life only hours before. Now they were gone, and Austin had lost its innocence in one savage act of violence. To understand the weight of the Yogurt Shop murders, one must first know the girls. Eliza Thomas, 17, was the responsible one. She had dreams of college, talked about becoming a veterinarian, and worked at the yogurt shop part-time. Friends described her as steady, dependable, the kind of person you'd trust to close up shop. Jennifer Harbison, also 17, was charismatic and outgoing. She was popular in school, loved animals, and had plans to study science. She worked alongside Eliza that night, the two of them assigned to lock up. Sarah Harbison, Jennifer's younger sister, was just 15. She was bubbly, quick to laugh, and looked up to her big sister. That evening, she and her best friend Amy had come to hang out, waiting for Jennifer and Eliza to finish their shift. Amy Ayers, 13, the youngest of the group, was full of curiosity and mischief. She wasn't even supposed to be out late that night, but she begged her parents to let her stay over with Sarah. Her father, Bob, would later say that Amy had a spark, a fight in her that somehow endured even in her final moments. They were ordinary girls with extraordinary futures ahead. Futures cut short in an act of senseless brutality. The crime scene was a nightmare. The fire had consumed much of the evidence. Water from the firefighters' hoses washed away trace materials. The bodies were badly burned, though investigators determined all 4 had been shot in the head execution style. Authorities quickly realized this was no random accident. The fire had been set intentionally, with paper and flammable liquid used to obscure the killer's tracks. Austin, then a city still finding its identity, was thrown into chaos. Parents pulled their children closer. Schools held vigils. The murders dominated local news. The yogurt shop, once a place of teenage laughter and first dates, became a shrine of grief. Tips poured in by the thousands. Police chased lead after lead, but most went nowhere. Detectives worked around the clock. Suspects were questioned. At one point, 4 young men were arrested, and some even gave false confessions under intense interrogation. But none of it stuck. There was no physical evidence tying them to the crime. The case grew colder by the year. Forensic science in the early 1990s was limited. DNA testing was in its infancy. Ballistics databases were scattered, and digital coordination across states was minimal. By the late 1990s, the investigation stalled. Families waited in agony. Detectives admitted they were haunted by the case. Austin, too, carried the wound like a scar. For the victims' families, the decades without answers were unbearable. Pam Ayers, Amy's mother, described waking up every day with a heaviness that never left. For her, anniversaries weren't just dates on the calendar. They were reminders of the hole in her life. For Bob Ayers, Amy's father, hope was a double-edged sword. He clung to the idea that someday the truth would surface. But the years of silence were a kind of torture. Annual memorials kept the girls' memories alive. Local journalists revisited the case periodically, branding it Austin's most infamous unsolved crime. For the community, the yogurt shop murders became a chilling reminder that evil could erupt anywhere. While Austin struggled with its cold case, another story was unfolding across the country. Robert Eugene Brashers was born in 1958, and by the 1990s, he had become a drifter, moving through states like Missouri, Tennessee, South Carolina, and Kentucky. He was intelligent, manipulative, and violent. His crimes escalated over time. In 1990, he strangled a woman in South Carolina. In 1997, he raped a 14-year-old girl in Tennessee. In 1998, he shot a mother and daughter in Missouri. In 1999, cornered by police in Missouri after another violent incident, Brashers chose suicide over capture. He died in a standoff, taking his secrets with him. For years, his name meant little outside of regional crime files. But forensic science was advancing, and the ghost of Brashers would not remain hidden forever. The turning point began in 2018, when Missouri authorities used improved DNA testing to link Brashers to old cases in South Carolina and Missouri. Suddenly, his name resurfaced as a serial predator. Meanwhile, Austin detectives were still pursuing every possible lead in the yogurt shop case. Detective Jackson, one of the modern-era investigators, decided to resubmit evidence to national databases. In June 2025, a .380 caliber shell casing from the yogurt shop was entered into a federal ballistics database. It matched an unsolved 1998 shooting in Kentucky, a case with eerie similarities. In August, South Carolina investigators informed Austin detectives of new DNA results. Material found under Amy Ayers' fingernails matched Robert Eugene Brashers. It was the breakthrough they had waited 34 years for. Amy, in her desperate struggle against her attacker, had scratched her killer, leaving behind the evidence that would one day solve the case. Detectives were overcome with emotion. As Jackson put it, Amy's final moments on this earth were to solve this case for us. It's because of her fighting back. On September 29, 2025, Austin Police Chief Lisa Davis stood before reporters and delivered the news the city had waited decades to hear. After 34 years, the Austin Police have made a significant breakthrough in one of the most devastating cases in our city's history. Genetic evidence has linked Robert Eugene Brashers to the killing of 4 teenage girls inside a North Austin yogurt shop. For families, the moment was surreal. "I have never been so proud of my daughter in all of my life," said Bob Ayers, his voice breaking. "Our whole family knew there was something about Amy that would help solve this. This is over." But grief is complicated. Pam, Ayers admitted she was still numb. "I can't say I am happy," she said, "knowing it is a serial killer. I'm not sure that makes it worse. But I would have never thought it would be a serial killer." The city, too, was torn between relief and sorrow. Mayor Kirk Watson tried to strike a hopeful note. "My hopefulness is that we can turn a page as a community, and hopefully the final page on this horror that marked a very different time in Austin's history." Even with the breakthrough, mysteries remain. Why was Brashers in Austin on December 6, 1991? Police noted that 2 days later he was stopped near El Paso, driving a stolen truck from Georgia. He claimed he was heading to Arizona to visit his father. A .380 caliber handgun was confiscated during that stop, the same make and model later tied to his crimes. Did he act alone in Austin? Or was there someone else in the yogurt shop with him? Investigators aren't certain. Some elements of the crime suggest multiple perpetrators. Could Brashers be tied to other unsolved crimes across the country, detectives are now coordinating with agencies in multiple states, combing through cold cases for patterns that fit his profile. The answers may never be fully known. The yogurt shop murders left a scar on Austin that will never fully heal. For the families, closure is complicated. Justice came too late, and the killer cannot face a courtroom. Yet there is also pride. Pride in Amy Ayers, whose desperate fight preserved the DNA that cracked the case decades later. Pride in the detectives who refused to give up. Pride in a community that never stopped remembering the girls. The case also highlights the relentless progress of forensic science. DNA testing, genetic genealogy, and national databases now give hope to cold cases once thought unsolvable. As Austin's mayor reflected, the city is stronger, more vigilant, and better equipped to face evil than it was in 1991. For Eliza, Jennifer, Sarah, and Amy, justice may have been delayed, but it was not denied. Thank you for staying through to the Yendi. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel now, and also feel free to comment and make a suggestion about anything or any story.